Sure, sure. My name is Heather Broeder, and I'm almost years old, so I'm a grown up. And I've been married 22 years. I've got 2 children. My son is starting high school. My daughter is starting 7th grade. We all go to Houston's First Baptist, the Cypress campus, and my husband and I teach the middle school youth stuff, so we're excited about that this weekend. Okay. And I work at Refined Technologies, and I serve in communications and missions, and that has brought me into a close relationship with World Vision, because the organization that I work for is deeply committed to making an eternal impact. And so we've committed $1 million towards working with World Vision to bring clean water to Honduras. So that has created the opportunity for me to go every couple of months with a handful of employees to see firsthand the work that we're getting to contribute to in Honduras on the ground. There's actually a lot of reasons. I have really been impressed with World Vision, working so closely with them for the last couple of years. But I'll give you 3 or 4 kind of key reasons. The first one is the leadership in World Vision. Even at the local level, there in Honduras, the folks are extremely competent and capable, and they're also really committed. I mean, when I walk around with Javier Mayorga, who leads the water and sanitation and hygiene, it's almost like he knows every child in every community in Honduras. He knows them personally. He knows their family situations. And so they're deeply committed to life change for individuals. They don't look at this as just, macro projects. And then I would say also World Vision is incredible because they've really got this holistic approach. Instead of trying to put Band-Aids on symptoms, they're really thinking strategically about, first we need to bring clean water, and then we can address health and education issues, and then we can go to economic empowerment, and then we can look at all of these different issues, and all the while integrated into that is discipleship and care in Jesus' name. And so rather than being a humanitarian organization, they're really a Christian organization that does humanitarian things for the glory of God in Jesus' name. And so I feel like they are so incredible because they can do things at scale and they can do things efficiently, and they've really got the expertise, not just to bring about change, but to bring about sustainable change. So you feel like when you're investing with them, you're really going to see generational cycles broken and new things happening. And so I've just been really impressed with the leadership here in the U.S., but also the leadership that they have locally in all of the areas where they work. A lot of ways that going to Honduras on these trips has marked me, and I apologize in advance because I'm kind of a weepy person. So it could get a little ugly cry, but it's okay because it's just been really meaningful. So I would say one kind of, just to be transparent, one really huge thing that has impacted me is just the things that seem like irritations here, the things that seem like, you kind of complain about them, and maybe you don't even verbalize them because you know that, you want to have a good attitude and a good heart, but you're like, gosh, I can't believe that that's not on Prime, or gosh, I can't believe, the traffic is so horrible this morning, or you just have these little things that you allow to frustrate you. But then when you take trips to places like this and you realize just the real challenges that people have in terms of waking up and having to walk 3 miles and carry heavy water, and not just doing that one day, but doing that every day, and then living with chronic diarrhea, living with chronic waterborne illnesses, and then your children missing school because they are carrying water so that you can clean your home and have a little bit for baths and have water just for your basic needs. I mean, those are real challenges. And so the things that I'm irritated with, it's really eye-opening. And Jesus didn't die so that I could change my behavior. He died to change my heart. He rose to change my heart. And so I feel like part of that process of God really working on my heart has just been putting me into an environment where I really just get to see firsthand what is hard and perspective. And I've been to a lot of international places, and I've been on a lot of mission trips, but I think we have to be constantly immersed in it because we get desensitized. We hear and see about hard conditions, but it continues to be over there and not like a front of mind. And so taking these trips regularly in place and being immersed in the same challenges has just really hit me. So that's okay. Another way that's kind of fun is that one of the mottos of the WASH program, which is the Water and Sanitation and Hygiene, they have a little Sesame Street character, and they come and talk to the kids about sanitation and hygiene. And so they have this little character, and she talks about washing your hands and brushing your teeth and flushing the toilet, because a lot of these kids grow up in communities where there's open defecation and they haven't had toilets before and they haven't had clean water. So they're literally learning these new habits. So they've got this real fun wash song, and it's talking about, you know, being clean and happy because you're, you know, getting rid of the germs and you're having good hygiene so you can have good health. And on one of the trips, I was just thinking about those kids and how they truly were joyful that they had water, and they were truly joyful that they could, you know, take a bath. And, you know, they were teaching their parents that we have to wash our hands at these certain times. And it was such a spiritual picture of what water is. We can be clean and happy when we have access to water. And that is exactly what Jesus does for us. Like, he is the living water that cleans us and cleanses us and purifies us and makes us happy. Because, like, think about it, when you go camping, you're like, this is great, I'm in the mountains, this is so beautiful. And then 24 hours in, you're like, I need a shower immediately. This is disgusting, I'm horrified, I really want a shower. And so then you take a shower and you're clean and you're happy. And just in that same way that we are like living in filth, the living water of Christ makes us clean and happy. Wow. So to be in those communities and to see those kids singing about water and singing about being clean and happy, it honestly has just pierced my heart for living water and what Jesus has done. And then a couple more stories. Mm-hmm. So there's a woman named Dinga that I got to meet in El Rodeo, which is a community kind of in western Honduras, beautiful mountains, very, very remote. And their community was particularly suffering because there were all of these pesticides that were runoffs because of coffee plantations. So their water was not only just like poor quality water, but it also had all of these major contaminants of chemicals. So their community in particular had a lot of deformities and some blindness and some neuro problems that were happening because the water conditions were just so bad for so long. So our team was there to talk with the water committee and understand more about the needs of the community and how they had mobilized themselves. And they were in the middle of construction. They're in the middle of digging miles of trench. And you know, World Vision provides labor and plans, but the community provides the muscle. So they have to organize themselves and dig and install this pipeline. So one of the women who was there, her name was Dinga, and she did not have all of her fingers and like full use of her hands. And yet she was telling us about how she had volunteered, you know, a major amount of time digging a significant part of this pipeline. And she showed us, you know, the motion of what she had to do with her axe and how she's leaning over this trench and she's digging. And I thought, I've never worked that hard in my life. I've never worked that hard in my life. And she was doing that because her son was dealing with neuro problems, neuro difficulties, and they weren't even really sure because her access to healthcare was so challenging. So she hadn't really been to a sophisticated doctor yet to figure out what was going on with her son and how she could help. But she knew that clean water would help, and she knew that clean water was essential for her community. And she wasn't going to say, hey, I really wish I could help, but I've got these challenges and I'm a single mom and I really physically can't do this. She was like, look, I'm on this water committee. I'm a leader. I'm getting that axe and I'm after this. Like, I'm in this with you guys. And when she was talking to us about that, I thought, what have I done for my community? You know, what sacrifices have I made to rally with people and really get around something significant? You know, I know a lot of my neighbors because I go to church with them or our kids get on the bus together, but we also are so self-sufficient here and we don't need each other in the same way, except that we do. And so it was such an incredible picture of how powerful a community is in spite of all the different limitations that they had. When they worked together, they accomplished this incredible goal. I mean, Refined Technologies gave money, World Vision gave a plan, and, you know, water, like insight into like where the source was and where this pipeline was going to go. But this community came together and put materials in place and erected a water tank and commissioned a water facility. And now they're managing the water system, and it's a sustainable change, and it's affecting all of their kids and their future. And so Dinga just really, really inspired me. And I don't know, you got time for one more? I got one more. Yes. Okay. My one more is that just the hope of the gospel. It's thrilling when you read about Jesus's words in the Bible, but then it's incredible when you see right in front of you, he's answering prayers. He's bringing hope. He's changing lives. He is reaching in and he's involved and he's close, because he's not bringing and giving peace and hope. He is peace and hope. So we read about Isaiah and Matthew and these different scriptures that talk about helping those who are hurting, helping those who have needs, helping those who have these injustices. And so if we want to connect with Christ and have communion and fellowship with Christ, we will be involved in helping the least of these, and we will be involved in bringing that cold cup of water in his name. And so it's just pretty exciting that even though the needs are great, there is transformation and hope happening. And Honduras is a place where people are faithful and they are prayerful and they are depending on God. And it's a really beautiful picture of reliance, just a true dependence on God. And it's pretty incredible just to have an opportunity to be a part of that. I would say it's challenged my ideas about caring for others and making sure that the care and the support that we give is strategic and thoughtful. And so what I've learned from World Vision is they're really looking at how to create lasting change and how to address all the needs that people have. So there are spiritual needs, and there's physical needs, and there's financial needs. And so just really thinking through how do those things work together. If we get everybody in school, but they're sick all the time, you know, that's not going to help them. And so it's really got to be, you know, this approach to poverty has to be multifaceted. It has to be well thought out and well sequenced. And so, it, you know, I think maybe 5 years ago, I might have thought in a more naive way about coming alongside and getting involved. And it just made me thankful for the leadership and the way that God has equipped people and given people gifts, even organizationally, to try to address things in a sustainable, helpful way.
Awesome. Yes.
Number one, I think us having a better understanding of the challenges so that we can pray and support is important. So, for example, I got a book last summer. It's called Enrique's Journey, and it's not a political book at all, but it's just helping people understand really the crisis that's going on in Central America, why people are fleeing, why families are breaking up, the risks that people face. So I think understanding more of what's happening in whatever part of the world and whatever part of our country that God's put on your heart, I think being educated and informed is really an important start. And then I also think, you know, the more we understand, the more that we can pray and communicate with others and collaborate and look for those things that God has given us an opportunity, whether it's child sponsorship or raising money towards water projects. But I think there's a lot of ways to get involved, even if your time is limited, even if your resources are limited. I think that God will continue to blow our minds with ways to get involved, even that, you know, might surprise us. Maybe even people in our own community that have needs that need to be met. So I think it's easy for us to all feel like we're busy and feel like we're overwhelmed, like your earlier video said. But I think as we pray and ask God how and where he wants us to be involved, he's faithful to show us, and he's faithful to open doors that we can walk through, and trust him to provide the talent or the money or the time to be involved and to stay involved. Say, as you know, kind of an encouragement and a challenge is, it's really crazy when you stop and think about how much water we use. Like when you just go kind of like mentally go through your day. And I would just encourage everybody, like tomorrow when you wake up, just start counting up all the times that you use water. So it's like, oh, couldn't have brushed my teeth. Oh, couldn't have done that load of laundry. Oh, couldn't have made my coffee. Oh, would have struggled to make that breakfast. And then you start to think about just life on just going on and on days after days, and you're raising lots of children and you don't have that water. And then think about how much time it would take you to gather that water and what it would take you away from. It would take you away from enjoying your children. It would take you away from time with God. It would take you away from the opportunity to work and use your gifts and your talents. And so it's really interesting when we just start to recognize how many times we turn that faucet on and what a gift, a precious, precious gift it is. Suddenly you realize you want that for everyone. You want that for every family. And you recognize that's a problem we can solve. That's an actual problem that we can come up with money and plans and muscle, and we can bring clean water to people. And so you want to get involved with that because it's insight and it's something that we all can be a part of. So I worked for over 20 years at an engineering company, and I loved it. It was amazing. I had just a great experience there. And my boss came to me one day and said, hey, I'm leaving. I'm going to go work with this guy that I met when I was getting my MBA like 10 years ago. He's really awesome. He loves Jesus. And I was like, why are you ruining my life? Like, how could you do this to me? Like, that's literally what I thought. And he left, and we stayed in touch. And I just kept hearing about this company, how they love the Lord, how they wanted their work to honor God, how they were really unashamed in their faith and their Christian principles. And I thought, sure, I know a lot of companies are like that. But then he kept telling me more and more about how they had a chaplain and they would open up their meetings in prayer and that they had devotionals. And I'm like, what? So I finally felt that God was releasing me to just investigate this and interview and check it out. And so really it was through relationships and God's guidance that they ended up creating a position because they were wanting to put more energy into missions and making an eternal pact internally and externally. So a lot of things were already happening at this company in terms of partnership with World Vision and child sponsorships and partnerships with local missional organizations and ways that they were taking care of their team. But I think they recognized with their growth that they really had an opportunity to put a dedicated resource on it. And so isn't God amazing that he would give me the experiences that I had and then the relationships and bring about this opportunity? Because I really, to be honest with you, I went to Baylor to be a nurse. I came out with my engineering degree. I thought maybe God was doing something funny and I was like going to go, need my engineering degree to like be a missionary in a country that I couldn't get into. And so then 20 years later to see God's hand in bringing together passions and skills and experiences and relationships for a job I never could have even described, as a college student, I couldn't have even described this job. But it's amazing to have the opportunity to be a leader and a shepherd of our culture and our communication and our involvement and partnership with mission organizations. And so I am so thankful for this job. I'm so thankful that part of my responsibilities are taking team members to Honduras to see what their work is contributing to. It's really fulfilling and exciting, and I'm really thankful for our leadership and just their vision to be a gospel-centered company in every way.